No shade.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's 9:01 a.m. on July the 1st, 2026. This is a special meeting of the Gillespie County Commissioners Court. We're going to call the meeting to order. For the record, all members of the Commissioners Court are present this morning. Let's move to item number 2, which is consider approval of job descriptions and or posting for positions in Road and Bridge in Precinct 3. Mr. Knightsky, you want to make a public comment?
Yes, sir. Good morning. I'm Bruce Knightsky, Assistant in Gillespie County. Regarding these positions, one of the duties is to repair roads and bridges. And I would point out that I asked for a listing of bridges and previous inspections and been inspected, and nobody has any information. Commissioner Olfers provided information that was from 2 years ago, 2 and 3 years ago. You at least need to have a list of bridges. There's also the issue of liability. You're going to send an 18-year-old down to repair bridges with no document of damage, no listing of repairs, no document of the repairs after they're done. We need to start tightening up.
Thank you. Okay, item number 2 was consider a job description for Road and Bridge in Precinct 3. Is Lynn or a commissioner going to present that? Or both?
Tag team.
Okay. Good morning.
So there is an opening for Precinct 3 Road and Bridge. This was the same job description that was previously posted. And it pretty much mirrors what's posted for the openings in the current precincts as well. And then Commissioner Inslee, did you want to talk about the consideration of
Part-time? Yes, I would, please. Commissioner Olfers has a position open. I think Commissioner Weinheimer does. I've had multiple positions open. My road foreman feels he's got a couple of people that may be very well qualified for part-time if we can do that. I think we can work that schedule and would like to approve a part-time position or a possibility of that.
we would have to create a line item for a part-time?
Yeah, which would come from full-time benefits. There is no insurance benefits on it, so there's a big savings there. And the prospective employees would be informed of that, so wouldn't be an issue.
So you wanted to create it in precinct 3?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you would simply move budget out of your full-time
Budget items
part-time?
over, yep.
You're not adding another position?
No, not adding another position. We would still not have more than 5 people, or the equivalent of 5, the numbers. It would not cost any more in the budget than what it is now. It's a matter of finding somebody that will continue to work and stay in work, even on a part-time basis.
So at that point, you have a full-time person wanting a job, you have to let the part-time person go to fill that full-time position.
Could be, yes.
What is, we have 2 part-times countywide, is that correct?
There is seasonal countywide.
Seasonal, 2 seasonal countywide.
Yes. And these would come out of precinct, this position would come out of precinct 3 budget. So it's trying to get another person on the crew that it's a very bad time of year to be short.
Correct, yeah, critical times, yeah. Get it?
And I say, I'm not aware that you've had any applicants. It took a while for me to get an applicant. The last time we had any decent applicants. So
So you're gonna post for a temporary position simultaneously?
Would
Is
like
that what
to,
your
yes.
intent?
And then whichever position, whichever person.
Yeah, I think we did that in the engineering department
Yes,
here
sir,
recently.
we did, we did. And that's kind of where we'd like to follow on that, so.
I mean, you got the budget dollars. To me, however you want to approach it, it'd be your business.
Appreciate that. So, that being said, I move to approve the job description and posting for positions in Road and Bridge Precinct 3. Would be 2 postings, a full-time and a part-time. Not both would be fixed, though.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, consider approval of promotions, transfers, payroll changes, and/or hiring for positions in Road and Bridge. It's a possible part-time position, and if approved, we'll discuss approval of line item transfers related to funding that position. Mr. Knightsky, you want to make a
No
comment?
additional.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so actually, this is a very similar situation. We have a recently retired individual that said he would be interested in working part-time, temporary, seasonal, if you will. So we currently have 2 employees listed on our position schedule as seasonal. We have within the Road and Bridge general fund or countywide, we have $64,000 budgeted, and we use these seasonal employees for spraying. We use them for mowing at times, and more particular during paving season, we use them. So my request today was to look at adding Kenneth Beachy to the list, or creating a 3rd seasonal employee on that list. So Lynn had indicated that we only had 2 people listed and there wasn't, quote, an open position in that. But we have a budget of $64,000. So I think the request today would be to add a 3rd person to that seasonal employee list. And then we would post for it, and Kenneth could apply, and then we could come back and decide whether or not we wanted to hire him. And of course, there may be other people that that apply for it as well. So this is a little different than what your approach was.
Yes. And my question on that would be, is there any reason to limit that to 3, as long as we've got budget dollars? If we've got others that are interested in that seasonal, could we hire more than that?
Lynn, do you have a perspective on that? Or?
That would be up to the court of increasing, if it's budget wise, we budgeted for 2 people, I mean, the money is in the account, they don't use it, they don't work year round.
Yeah.
We had budgeted 64,000 and we have what's the amount that's left?
When I looked
There's
at,
only $1,800 spent.
$2,000 spent. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
the majority of it.
$63,000.
Okay.
yeah, when I looked it up this morning, it was $63,043.88 in that line item.
I mean, we can't go over budget, so that we got to know that is, I mean, I don't have a problem with upping that.
Well, I think at one time we had 4.
We did have 4. And I think we reduced it because we couldn't, nobody was wanting any part-time positions. Now it's coming to where we can actually find part-timers.
So is between seasonal or temporary part-time, is there, from HR and a financial perspective, are they different?
So if
How different?
someone is considered a part-time employee, they're eligible for TCDRS.
Mhm.
And then seasonal is not.
Well, what I would do is move that we add an additional person to the seasonal temporary employment line of the countywide and post for that position.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, consider approval of purchasing a new water truck for Precinct 3. Approval to trade in the used truck or list it for sale on Gov Deals, and approve a line item transfer to cover that purchase.
So I've done some more research on this. I've looked at used trucks and they're just, who knows what you get. I personally have had very limited luck with used items and I hate to go down that road. I also don't like the cost of new, but warranties and everything else. The item that's in the packet, got an update to that. That truck was an L6 model. Weight rating was not enough to carry the total 2,000 gallons of water that the tank is on there, so I don't know why they even make that truck. Does not make good common sense. I'm glad we found it before we purchased that. So I have a new spec sheet on an L7, which has a 33,000 pound rating, would be the same warranty and all. Bottom dollar on that truck is $125,854. That is with no trade. We do not want to trade the other truck. We think they're offering $6,500. We think we can do better now in gov deals. That includes a couple of different warranties, 5-year, 20,000 mile engine warranty, after treatment warranty, same length of time. And then a platinum max truck warranty is 7 years, 100,000.
125,854.
Yeah, again, that 125,854 with the correct weight rating. The previous truck that we looked at, the weight rating was not correct, was gonna be 124,246. And I verified that, that's very little difference for the extra weight rating. I think it was just under 26,000 on the previous truck, so. Glad we found all that. This will be replacing a 2002 International with almost 80,000 miles on it. Anybody have any questions on any of that?
What your model is the one you want to go get?
It is a 2002 International.
International.
If not any other questions on it.
Is this you have in your budget?
I will have to transfer a little bit of money, 37,000 from another line item, but otherwise, yes, there's budget money there. Got money in concrete accounts that we will not use. So, yeah.
Is this truck still on the buy board?
It is on Sourcewell,
Okay.
yes, sir, from Rush Truck Centers, buy board contract 723-23. And we buy stuff from Rush all the time, Michael.
Yes,
I mean, it's the reputable dealer that we use.
yes, they are. They actually have the parts for this single truck. They sell them and service them and they work them.
Transmission and engine are same as what some of our dump trucks and stuff have, if I remember correctly.
For pretty much everything that's in this truck, we have software for it. We're familiar with engine and transmissions.
Good deal. With that, I move to approve the purchase of a new water truck for precinct 3 in the amount of $125,854 from Rush Truck Centers.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Do you want to do a separate motion or do you want to amend that to talk about the auction and
Now,
or do you want to do that later?
not this separate, or we can do that,
Okay.
we can do that part later on the gov deals, but I would like to do another motion for transfer of
All right.
funds.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And to cover that, I move to transfer $37,000 from the concrete account number 18-623-4407 into the road equipment account 18-623-6003.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're not going to act on the gov deals? Or you going to do that later?
Do we have anything else going right now?
We actually do.
Do.
We had a few things, so if we could add it, that would be good.
And we'll do that too real quick. Okay. Next motion, I move to approve listing the 2002 International Water Truck in Precinct 3 on gov deals.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, anything else on item number 4?
Sir, thank you.
All right, now we're here for the big one. Everybody's waiting for it.
Just a moment, Judge.
All right.
Can we take a quick moment to where Lynn can introduce our new team
Sure,
member
sure.
for public information? I would like to do that because she just walked in, so. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna delay you 2 more minutes, but this is important. This is important to us, so.
We are very excited to have Jennifer Lugo join us today as our grant administrator. And so she was approved court sessions back, and today is her first day.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Jennifer.
aboard.
Thank you.
Yep.
Happy to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
She also said her commute was not too bad this morning.
Thank you, Judge. I'm sorry about that.
Item number 5, consider approval of a plat application for Tobiano Hills subdivision precinct 4. Mr. Knightsky.
He left.
Exit the building.
All right, no other public comments. Melissa, you want to start off? I don't know what the order of presentation is going to be, but
Yes, so we'll have a presentation today, just gonna get this to be set up for, some more information on the water availability aspect of it. So just as a quick introduction, then I'll turn it over to Keith to, present in more detail. But this is the subdivision of about 100-acre parent tract into 25 lots, 4 of those are residential lots, it has 1 commercial lot. The subdivision is gonna be served by a public water system, and then on-site septic facilities. We did approve a variance to the timing of the public water system permitting requirements from DCEQ back in December of 2025. So essentially, our subdivision ordinance requires the public water system to be completely approved by DCEQ for plat approval. We approved moving that to plat recordation, so this will be approval of the plat and considered today, but the plat will not be recorded until, that is all complete. We also approved a variance to the minimum horizontal radius for a few of the road segments. It's last month now, June 9th. So if the subdivision were approved, it would allow the contractor and the developer to start working on their road and drainage construction. But again, they do need that public water system approval from DCEQ prior to recordation of the plat. So that, no lots can be sold, the houses, can't be occupied until that's complete. And there is an option, they can submit a performance bond for the construction of the roads and drainage facilities and utilities. But that would also be required prior to recordation if that work wasn't completed at the time it was recorded. So, one of y'all wants to speak more specifically about your location?
Good morning, Your Honor, Commissioner.
Morning.
We use it for acre land advisors and surveyors. So we've been working on this project for a while. Just went through multiple rounds of comments and review and iterations, collaborations with Melissa and other stakeholders. I know we're on version 7 to get to this point, so a lot of hard work's been into it. It is compliant with current subdivision regulations, with the exception of the variances that Melissa discussed. And she really covered a lot of the basis from a surveyor's perspective, representing the platting elements of it. There's not a lot more to add. We do have other stakeholders here to talk about water availability. Emmett Gold, as you guys have visited with him before as the civil engineer of record for the project. So with that said, I think actually I'll let you guys come up and speak to anything specific about water, which I think has been one of the biggest concerns and considerations in this project. So I guess from a surveying from a plat perspective. Do you guys have any questions that I can field as the surveyor?
I don't have any questions around the planning.
Okay.
The water, there's still some questions there, so.
Okay. Well, I'm not a water expert. Alex?
Hello,
Good morning.
Commissioners. I'm Jake Peterson. I'm with Wet Rock Groundwater Services. I did a lot of the groundwater work on this project. And I noticed both Pauls are here. It's good to see them. We worked hand in hand with Paul, asking questions throughout the process. And typically I would like to open up for any questions. But to just start out, just say, whenever we look at work, we take conservation very seriously, and we follow all district rules. So the permit for this was granted. Both Pauls reviewed the study, and we also follow TCQ standards to the T. So yeah, if there's any questions, or Paul, if you want to.
Were you preparing to talk, Paul, or were you?
I certainly can.
You were kind of like inching forward. I kind of thought maybe.
I just wasn't sure
Yeah.
at the right time.
So I guess one of the questions I have is that water availability is what you guys have basically said, yeah, you believe that's there. The water quality, is that a separate step, or is that done with Wet Rock? Or, I mean, where does the TCEQ come in to approve the water supply? Is water quality part of that, or?
So yes, water quality is.
I'm sorry, Paul, you're gonna have to get, because then it gets collected on the, whatever. Sorry about that.
Yes, so water quality is a part of the public water supply licensing. They do meet those, they have plans in place to meet whatever issues are naturally occurring that need to be treated if the water doesn't in its natural state meet the standards. If you have a question about that treatment system, I guess Jake maybe you can answer that. That's normally an engineer designs that, so I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah,
And we have Mr. Gold here, so you can do that. If you have a question about that. For our part from the district, this process, so this is the first plat that has come before the court under your new water availability regulations you have within your development code. And it would appear that the current standards are more closely aligned with the Texas Administrative Code 232 requirements, which are inferior to the previous standard the development code had adopted that the county operated under for, Paul can answer probably better, but for a number of years, we did approve plats under the previous standard, and it was a standard developed based upon authority from Chapter 35 of the Texas Water Code. And the difference is Chapter 35 states the premise in that is we are in what's called the Hill Country Priority Groundwater Management Area. That was created, I think, in 93 or sometime. Yeah, it was created in the early 90s. And back then, the state saw that we would have water availability issues here. Under Chapter 35 of the Water Code, they gave counties within those areas extra authority and plat approval. And those counties could adopt water availability standards that they thought would essentially, kind of can paraphrase the language here. So it would be essentially that you would adopt standards that would ensure that you don't exceed the safe, sustainable yield of the county's water supply. Now, that's up to your interpretation of what you think is the safe, sustainable yield, but generally, I think most people interpret that as you can propose a use and you would be able to do that use indefinitely, like the natural resources could meet that need, on an ongoing basis. The Texas Administrative Code, the 232 requirement is just for 30 years. I don't know why they adopted you only need 30 years of water available under that standard. I guess maybe the bankers passed that one or something to protect the mortgages, but essentially you could demonstrate that at year 31 there's not water available, and that would still meet the standard of the 232 requirement for demonstrating water availability. So just wanted to point that out. Paul Tiber's here to cover any questions you have to, or speak in detail just about management issues the district sees going forward. these are primarily based upon existing demand in the area. I think under the previous development code, that would have probably been a part of the planning discussion. I don't think it is under the current code. They have demonstrated, I think, that they meet the current requirements. And we kind of cover that in the letter. But this round of going through and looking at that has pointed out that it would be nice if we could address some of these things. Because water, water demand is definitely based upon land use, and the ground district doesn't have the authority to regulate land use. So when planning does get approved, that definitely affects our ability to manage the natural resources. I don't know, I feel like I ran a little bit there.
No, but that's great information. Thank you. I mean, that's,
So these changes came with our 2022 subdivision regulation adoption, right? Yeah, so I had a previous conversation with our engineer, and I think there's a consideration that we need to take with either adjusting our current subdivision regulations or ensuring that we move forward with a new set going forward that would come back and reapply some of these things that we previously had in place that basically got loosened up in 2022. So, I mean, is that a fair assessment, Paul?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's the thing. We had plating before that didn't seem problematic. People were able to get plats approved, but it was a much higher standard for water availability than what you have to demonstrate. Paul and I have worked with Melissa on possibly the language that would actually go a little bit beyond that to basically ensure that like our management goals for the groundwater in the county could kind of match up with what you want to accomplish with your planning requirements as well. And having some more concrete standards of what that looks like, things that it can be measured against.
Did you want to go into any detail on like the specific water?
We can, would you like for us to address just the letter that we sent you guys and kind of give a little more explanation to that?
Sure.
I think that'd be beneficial.
Yeah, Paul, if you could cover that for us.
So he's not really retired.
He's one of those part-time employees.
Yeah,
Part-time or seasonal, does it get retirement?
Well, Mr. Tiber, it's good to see you again, though. I mean, it's,
Good to be here. Thank you all. Okay, well, what I'm gonna do is summarize the results from that water availability study that they did. And I gave you a summation of it, I think. So if you have any questions, you'll be happy to present them to me, and I'll do my best to answer them. The development, as you can see, it's on the map there with the green outline. It's about 100 acres. The permit that the district granted was for a little over 24 acre feet, which is a conservative amount for that size of a tract. They could ask for up to a maximum of about 100 acre feet. So they're well below that with the application that they presented and that was granted. You can see the wells that are within the 1 mile radius that are shown there. The next slide. Okay, they conducted a 36-hour pump test. They had 2 wells out there, both completed in the Hickory aquifer. The number one well is going to be a PWS, public water supply. The number 2 is going to be used for irrigation out there. And the permit, I think, is broken down to where the amount for municipal will be the predominant amount for the 24 acre feet. I think about 10 acre feet for irrigation is what I believe the permit states. But this is the pump test that was conducted on the number 1 well, which is the PWS. They pumped it for 36 hours at 44 gallons per minute. That equates to 63,360 gallons per day, or about a little over 95,000 gallons over that 36-hour time period. And in the pumping well, they had 117.9 feet drawdown. That's that green line that's up there on the chart. The number 2 well was used as the observation well, and it, I think, is 1,500 feet away or so.
About 300. Yeah, it's much closer, yeah.
Oh, 300 feet, okay, I'm sorry. It seemed like longer.
It's downhill.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, it had a drawdown of a little over 66 feet over that 36-hour period. And from this pump test, the consultants then calculate out the various hydraulic properties of the aquifer, the hydraulic conductivity, the transmissivity, the storage coefficient, and then those numbers are used in a groundwater model that they developed for the area. Next slide. And what they do is they project out what the water levels will be out over the next 10 and 30-year time period. They have it set up to where the number 1 well is pumping at 30 gallons per minute for 14 hours a day out for the 10-year period. And that would equal the 28.45 acre feet per year that they are granted in their permit. And as you can see, the contours show how much drawdown would be out away from that well. The closest boundary to the well, the property boundary, would have a drawdown of about 55 feet. And out to the extreme west, we show the development West Oak Heights, and out there they would have about between 20 to 22 feet of drawdown in that subdivision. Next slide. Here's the same map, but with the contours after a 30-year production there at the development on the number 1 well. Same production rate, 30 gallons per minute. And at the closest boundary, they would have a 59-foot drawdown over a 30-year period, and a little less than 25 out at the West Oak Heights subdivision. Next slide. What we did here was just to give you an idea of what has occurred in that area prior to this development. The city of Fredericksburg, they have a well out at Boot Ranch. And in 2006, they drilled a new replacement well for the one that they had, along with 2 other wells. And they did a 36-hour pump test on the 1 well. Can't read my own handwriting. But on that 36-hour pump test there, they pumped that well at 984 gallons per minute. And in that well, they had a 71-foot drawdown. And the other 2 wells, the 1 well closest is about 170 feet to the north. It had 62 feet of drawdown. And the second well, about 1,400 feet to the south, it had a 43-foot drawdown. So there is some impact from what the city is doing there. And after that pump test, which was run on July 20th, 2006, the city went ahead and conducted another pump test. And on between August 3rd through the August 7th. And what you're seeing here are contours that are a result of that pump test. We went ahead and added a number of wells in the area and monitored those levels during that pump test. And this is the result of the pumping from that 1 well over that 3 to 4 day period. In and around the well field, they had about a 20-foot drawdown. To the north, they had virtually none. It was very interesting that as you went to the north, there was no hydrologic communication with the wells that we were measuring up to the north and their pumping. However, there was some fairly significant pumpage impact to the south. Well, to about a couple of miles away from the pumping well, the Johnson well, it had about 7.5 foot drawdown. The West Oak Heights well, it had close to 20 foot drawdown over that time period. But we cannot attribute that solely to the city's pumping, because that well was actively pumping on its own. Now, the program that we use to map this out, it shows a projected drawdown in the Bottom Hills development of 4 to 8 feet of drawdown based on what they were doing there up to the north. So as a result of this, the district went ahead and designated that area around Boot Ranch a high historic use area. And it does not include the Bottom Hills area or any other area other than the Boot Ranch area. However, that's something that the district will be looking at here in the future about extending those boundaries.
Does the reservoir dip down as you go south, or is it?
It does.
It dips down?
It does.
Okay. So I have a question with respect to you mentioned well number 1 was for the municipal use, and well number 2 is for irrigation. So are they going to have different water supplies to each home site? Is that, Emmett, is that what the plan is, or is that irrigation only for the common areas?
Yeah, I can speak to that real quick. Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. So the public supply well will be the underground water system, distribution system, all residential lots, and then to the commercial type lot. The irrigation well sits on the commercial lot, and the main intent of that is for common areas, potentially likely some vineyard locations on that lot.
So it's not the residential yard.
Right, and so something to kind of note, as we're talking through it, is rainwater collection is proposed on the residential lots. And that was kind of part of our groundwater permit, indicated that those would be installed. And that, I mean, the volume for rainwater collection that would be used for residential isn't reflected in our permit. So, our groundwater permit is likely asking for much more water than would be needed if rainwater collection was implemented or is implemented. And then also, native planting, landscaping, that was another element of your rainwater permit. And then even on the irrigation side, for like the vineyards, it'd be the low dose drip system versus spray, more effective on that front. And then another point on top of the drawdown, I'm not a groundwater expert, refer to Paul and Jake back here. But that study, the 30-year study, assumes no recharge of the aquifer. So it's just we're pumping the 30 GPM for 14 hours a day for 30 years, and it's not raining. There's no recharge. And that's the drawdown depths that are noted in that study.
Yeah, I'd actually like to make a comment on the model.
Okay.
Could we get back to the drawdown? Yeah, so the 10, 30-year model, groundwater is obviously a very complex thing in the subsurface. So we have to make a lot of assumptions in these models. Two main ones I want to point out is that one assumption is that the aquifer is infinite and continuous and homogeneous. So the Hickory aquifer is very faulted and blocky, segmented aquifer. And so in this assumption, we see these kind of circular drawdown circles. In reality, the aquifer is very faulted and can be kind of compartmentalized. And so in reality, these drawdown figures might be lessened impacts out west, or where it's faulted, it could be more as well. Another assumption, as Emmett pointed out, was zero recharge. So in that sense, this presents a worst case scenario. That's assuming, no rain for the 10 and 30 years and no recharge. Even if it didn't rain, there's a reservoir of water in the aquifer that can be, that recharges through and percolates. There's zero assumption on that. So in that case, we're looking at a worst case scenario in the terms of the dry on numbers.
Where is the recharge area for the Hickory?
So we actually, it's in the study, we looked at a GIS area where Texas Water Development Board has mapped it. In terms of average rainfall in the surface area, I don't have that number on me right now, but the total permit volume, 28 acre feet, accounted for 2.7% of the county's recharge. However, the Hickory is a multi-county aquifer, and so it receives recharge in other counties as well.
So I know it outcrops around Brady.
I think it's the northern part of Gillespie as well. It crops out of it.
So I'm just sort of curious where the general recharge is considered. Is it throughout the areas that it's underneath, or is it mostly to the north where it crops out?
I think we get recharged pretty much throughout the whole
Throughout the
county.
year. Okay.
Rainfall is, when it falls over this area here, this is the Hensel, and that covers the area that the development is. And it will probably see some local recharge as well. And this does show pretty much a worst case scenario without recharge factored into it. And that's pointed out in what we presented to you.
So, Emmett, and the developer, obviously y'all gonna put in regulations around landscaping, water conservation and so forth. And I'm curious, are you familiar with the Hill Country Alliance?
Yes,
You know, they have a set of guidelines, and I would encourage you to look at that and incorporate as much as you can from that into your subdivision, rules for the landscaping. So.
It's part of the groundwater permit, it could be part of the CCNRs or similar.
Come on back.
I've got a question for either Paul. In the letter, it talks about designating Boot Ranch as a high historical groundwater usage area. What does that designation mean, or what does that?
So
Impact
essentially, it's a management zone that we have that has special rules that apply to that area because we identified that it is, the hydrology is unique, the demands there are unique to that area. There's different than other portions of the Hickory or the district as a whole with regards to all the aquifers. Like Paul mentioned, this permit, when we looked at it and when we looked at the availability study with regards to planning and then a few other permits that have come before us in this area, and our own monitor oil data, it's kind of pointed to the fact that there's actually a much greater area that's affected by the existing historic pumping that's occurring in this area. And so like Paul mentioned, we're trying to redraw those boundaries to utilize the existing high historic use area regulations that we have to apply those to a greater area. And that will affect how permitting takes place in the future if we adopt those enlarged boundaries. I forget there was another. So I did want to mention about with the rainwater collections. Part of what is an issue is the fact that I think about the most that can be done is a deed restriction. Deed restrictions can of course be easily changed. They don't have the authority of ordinance or even like a platting restriction. And no one has the authority to put that as a platting restriction or you can have it on the plat, but no one has the authority to enforce that. There's no mechanism to do it. I know we spoke with the developer and, they really would like to do a development that is different and has standards that are above whatever the minimum standards are, because they're not only developing the plat, but they're going to be building the homes in there as well. But ultimately, it really is going to be the individual landowner that owns this tract that determines how they use the water and what they do and whether they utilize rainwater or not. And there's no authority to have that be something that is regulated or mandated. And so you can't really consider that your platting just because it's subject to change. And I know it's frustrating for everybody. You know, there's nothing in place that when the developer wants to do it, that's the product they'd like to offer for sale, but there's no mechanism in place to ensure that that's what would actually exist.
So can a homeowners association implement that and enforce it?
So you can do all that, but that's also
That's a whole nother thing too.
Yeah, and it can be changed very easily. I mean, I say easily, I guess you want to sell homeowners. Maybe not so easy, but it's still possible. If you approve a plat based upon assumptions like that, those things are subject to change. There's no authority to ensure that standard with which you adopted the plat assumptions, that's what in fact would be constructed or maintained once individual property owners own the properties.
That leads to another question for me on the acre feet. So who monitors how much water is pulled out of there? I'm the new guy on the deal, so I'm gonna have a few questions on that.
So in our permitting, when you receive an operating permit from the district, that's a part of the requirements is annual reporting on the bond.
And I figured as much, but
And there is, because they have an irrigation component to their permit, there's definitely opportunity for significant conservation if that's needed. If they were to appeal to the district to be exempt from some of the drought requirements or curtailments because of safety and welfare purposes of the public water supply system, they still have a considerable annual allowance on their permit that they could curtail it wouldn't be a part of that safety and welfare. So that when we looked at the permitting, that's the thing. What's an issue seems to be the historic use in this area. It does affect all the users, and including new users. So we're just trying to work with how we will navigate that ultimately. The district is required, or a part of our tasking is to protect historic use, but when that use seemingly is incompatible with our overall management goals, I'm not sure how much protection we can offer.
Not mentioned what is implemented when an area is designated high historic use or critical groundwater.
Yes, so in the current management zones the district has, we typically have reduced production regulations, meaning for an administratively complete application, a request can only be made for a certain volume of water based upon the area it's going to serve or the acreage that is controlled by the landowner or permittee. Spacing is typically increased in our high historic use areas. That helps mitigate the impact of cones of depression that are developed from individual producers from wells. There are any number of things the district can implement to try to reach our management goals that will only apply to those areas, and it doesn't apply to the greater portions of the district under our standard rules.
How many of these areas are there in the county?
So currently we have three different, and I'm using the term management zone. We have specific names for these in our rules. So right now we have high historic use areas and we have critical groundwater depletion areas as named management zones in our rules. We currently have a critical groundwater depletion area, which is now a category 2 that covers all of the Ellenberger Aquifer on the east of town here. And then we have 2 high historic use areas. One that covers, well, I say 2, are they 2 different areas? So okay, yeah. So we have one that covers the 2 existing municipal well fields that the city has in, they call it the Knock well field, on the San Antonio Road well field. And then this Boot Ranch area is an additional high historic use area that we developed. And the issue is just, we didn't have the data at the time. So when Paul implemented the high historic use area over that portion of the Hickory, that was just to the best of our understanding and knowledge at that time. We've now gathered a lot more data. This process has honestly helped us have a better understanding of what's going on over there. But it does cause us to have, bring up that we do believe there's some total availability issues long-term in this area. And the modeling is certainly limited, like Jake said. It's very difficult to get enough quantitative evidence to just do a typical engineering analysis. So it takes a lot of intuitive understanding of what's going on in these natural systems to try to make decisions to just meet management goals and ensure the safety and welfare of everybody in the county.
So, well 29 and well 30, that's in the subdivision, what is gonna happen with those two wells?
I believe they were, existing was already flooded. Yes.
I'm sorry, they're what?
Those wells were plugged.
They're plugged, okay.
Yes.
So were they being used prior to the acquisition of the property, or, you know?
Yeah, I think one was drilled in 22 or 23 and maybe part of the sale of the property or something. I don't know that it was ever used. And then there was an older one there. May have been used when it was a homestead back in the day.
Yeah, the wells were drilled as exempt livestock in domestic wells, but I don't think either one of them were actually utilized on that track.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Melissa, anything else you want to present? I have one question, Melissa, about your recommendation where it says approved as noted. Are the notes, the items right under your approval block there?
Right, yes, so
Okay.
whenever I review, typically the surveyor and the developer and engineer will send in their application documents, I'll review that and essentially stamp it with the stamp, whether like my department has reviewed or if we have notes or if we don't approve it, just to relay that back to the developer. But yes, the notes are there right under the that stamp. And as you can see, most of them are just for your information, just to make sure that we don't miss anything in the future whenever it does come to court, or just so that we have that as a reminder. We did make a few edits to the plat that was submitted that are really minor. The Mylars that I have here are fully executed, so they are signed and sealed by the engineer, the surveyor, and signed by the owners. There was a drainage easement call out that we added on page 2, sheet 2 of 3. There's, I guess on lot 7 and 6, I think that is, there's a dashed, rectangular area, so we added a call out that that's drainage easement, so that's intended to be, and then added the word drive after Tobiano Hills, where that's called out. That's that entrance road. Right now, the rural addressing, they were approved for Tobiano Hills Drive, so we were just missing that. So it's there. So those were the only things that have been edited since the copy that you received. I don't have any other comments on it aside from that.
So you mentioned the plat approval wouldn't be recorded. If we approved it, it wouldn't be recorded until we get the public water supply approved.
Yes, so this is for approval of the plat. So our typical process that we've seen in the county is a little bit different than other cities that I've worked with. It's really pretty common for a plat to be approved by the jurisdiction. The developer goes and constructs the roads and drainage facilities, utilities. Then after that work is complete and accepted, then the plat's recorded for the developer to then sell the lots. The way the county has done it, as far as I can see, is that we require the performance bond at the time the plat is approved. And then the plat can be recorded immediately because we have the bond, where theoretically if the developer left, you could utilize the bond to complete the construction. So essentially by approving the variance for TCEQ approval of the public water system, we can approve the plat, but it would not be recorded until the public water system is approved. And then if the construction is not complete at that time, we would then require a bond in order to record the plat, or they could finish the construction, have that all accepted and then recorded. So they can bond it or build it.
Mm-hmm. So Judge, do you understand what we've got to act on?
It's approval of the plat application, or consider approval of the plat application.
Is that your recommendation?
They, as far as I can see, they meet all the requirements for the 2022 ordinance.
So I move we approve the plat application at Cabano Hill subdivision for C4.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I want to thank Emmett and all you guys for working with the county on this. And I know there's a lot of back and forth, and we appreciate the way y'all work with us. So,
Thank you all, and thank County Engineer's Office. We appreciate and enjoy working with everyone.
Thank you. I kind of had a question more about the marketing side, like what's this project going to look like, or what the plan? I didn't want to ask this before because it's not really relevant to the plat application, but can you just give a little bit of background on what we're expecting to see here? I guess what the concept is.
Good morning, Your Honor, and Commissioners. My name is Francisco Peteria. I represent the owner and the developer of the Toledo Hills project. So as Melissa was mentioning, we bought this plot of land, 100 acres, where we just approved subdivision to 25 lots, 24 for single-family residential. They're going to be about 3.5 acres each of those lots, and there is one larger lot that's going to have amenities serving those 24 lots. It's a high-end development, much like Wood Ranch. Wood Ranch is anchored on both. This is going to be anchored on wellness. So our idea is that the owners of these properties are going to have many amenities that go along with wellness, like almost a 3-mile track of walking track for the property. We're going to have a large gym. We're going to have racket sports. We're going to have a spa, inclusive of cold plunges, saunas, steam rooms, salt baths. So all these developments are trying to bring wellness into the development. Because of the wellness aspect and because of the realities of the county in terms of water, we are not only developing something that I failed to mention. We're not only developing the land, we're going to be developing the land, building the homes and the maintenance. So we're going to be end-to-end full completion of the development. Something that is very, very important to us is to do the best for the community. So that's why we were mentioning before, and we have mentioned to the county that we're going to be doing all the conservancy measurements of the water side, inclusive of rainwater collection at every single individual home. We're going to mandate it within our CCNRs, HOAs, if you will. As you mentioned and told very well, those can be changed by the homeowners at some point in time, but given that we are the ones building the homes, we're going to execute upon those. So all those properties are already going to have the development. In terms of marketing of the properties, we intend upon finalizing the construction of the improvements to the land, start with the marketing of the property. We team up with the team of full personalities that are going to be handling the marketing of the development for us. And several of the owners, there's a group of 5 different owners that I'm representing here. We all intend to have to keep one of those properties for ourselves, so we will have a place here in the hill country for ourselves. So we're developing this with that in mind. We are even going to be homeowners and members of the community here. Any questions I might ask?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you for Paul and Paul. You guys really helped us through all that. So thank you.
All right, anything else on item number 5? All right, if not, let's go back to item number 1, the consent agenda. That's routine business items the court will approve in a single motion unless a member of the court wants to pull an item for individual discussion.
I move we approve our consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, commissioners? If not, motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we're adjourned at 10:01 a.m. Thank you, everyone. Happy 4th of July.
Paul and our Paul.
9:01. I might do it in the law library. If we can't get it, we got to. Always forget to turn that off.